Welcome to the Prosperity Podcast for entrepreneurs who are ready to drop the hustle and earn more. I'm your host, Danielle Amos, business and success coach, certified Proctor Gallagher Institute consultant, and lifestyle entrepreneur. Each week, I'll bring you amazing entrepreneurs who have built wealth, harnessing the power of their mind. Prosperity and money are truly about energy, and I'm on a mission to help you create financial abundance through the power of thought. It's time we started normalizing conversations about money and create the wealth that is yours. Are you ready? Let's do this. Welcome to episode 129 of the Prosperity Practice, the podcast that has you living your best life. This is Danielle Amos, and I am your host. On today's episode, we have a very special guest. Her name is Nadia Fairlamb. She's an artist, an entrepreneur, a teacher, and a mentor. She's also a good friend of mine and a client. She's been in our community for the past few years. And when she came to us, she had the idea or question, can I really get paid for doing what I love? Nadia is an incredible, talented artist, and she follows her heart and does what lights her up. She lives in Hawaii and has an incredible life. And yet, like most artists, she may have accepted the paradigm of starving artist. Well, I am pleased to tell you that Nadia has now not only become one of the best and well-known artists in her field, she has also diversified her income. She not only creates incredible art for boutique hotels, incredible mansions, and you'll see her art on the most beautiful walls and the most beautiful settings. And really, there's something for everyone. Her pieces are so unique. She has also learned to diversify her income and now teaches art and creativity to both adults and students. She is incredible. You're going to love her, what she is creating in Hawaii, a movement. Today on this episode, we talk about imagination. Imagination is one of the most important mental muscles, if not the most important muscle, because it literally dictates what you manifest into your world. Your imagination is your only problem and your only solution. So your imagination sets the limits of what you can achieve, because as a human being, you do have infinite potential. Nadia and I talk about imagination, and she'll talk about how she uses it in her work and the importance of working out this mental muscle and how she helps adults and children do just that. Join us and see it as you're overhearing a conversation of two women who are passionate about what they do. Perhaps we're at a cafe and you're at the table next to us. Just listen in and see what you get. Today, I have a very special treat for all of you listening. We are so blessed and grateful to have Nadia with us today. She's an artist, like I just mentioned, and she's a member of our community. And she has the ability through her work to expand and strengthen one's imagination muscle, which is so important. And I'll share with you why this is so important before we get into our conversation. And today I invite you to listen to this conversation as if you're overhearing two experts in their field just talking about what they do. And because you're overhearing our passionate conversation, there is insight for you. There is an answer for you, a key to move you along your journey to achieving and living the fullest life that you desire, which is the entire purpose of this podcast. So before we invite Nadia in to the call, I'd love for us to discuss imagination. So imagination is a mental muscle, and imagination is extremely important to an individual's potential, because literally, as a soul, we are a soul or a spiritual being in this human body who has infinite potential that can be, do, and have anything they desire. This is true for every single person, every single human being on this planet. What dictates, or the amount we achieve or manifest in our life, is dictated by our imagination. And so our imagination is incredibly important to understand and to work it out so that it's a strong mental muscle so that you can manifest all that you desire in your life. So let's bring Nadia in and have this conversation. Welcome.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me.
So let's talk a little bit about your journey. You're a very creative person. Tell the audience a little bit about where you've come from and what you do now. And then let's talk about imagination.
So I was one of those kids that was always in the paint box, coloring, drawing. I was one of those kids from youth, even through high school and college, where the use of my hands and making things with my hands was always my go-to, always the thing that I did. And then about 12, 15 years ago, I decided to make this a full-time profession. And I asked myself the questions, how can I turn this into profit? How do I turn art into a living? And so that's what I do now. And after many other jobs and professions and careers along the way, this is what I focus on solely now.
Love it.
And a little while ago, it was right before I met you, I had an experience of imagination. It changed the way I made my art and the speed in which I made it, and the understanding of I'm not making it, something is doing it through me.
Mm.
And that's how I made money faster. And so that led me to want to share that with other people, to teach that to other people so other people could have that knowledge too.
That's awesome. What was that experience like when you, because really it's just a shift in perception from you going, you being the one that does the art, creates the art, to allowing spirit to move to and through you to be, would you say guided? Tell us a little bit more about that experience.
Yeah, you could call it guided. You could call it being, like what Abraham Hicks says, the receptive mode. Receiving, downloading. It was an experience. It was an experience that made me realize things don't have to be so hard. So it was an experience of, I was pushed to my edge in that moment, getting ready for an art show when I was making things that I knew would sell, but I didn't want to make them. And there was a strong desire in me to make that piece of art that I knew that was art. And from being in an art school, to me, that means it's transcendent, it's awe-inspiring, it has nothing in a way to do with me, and it takes the viewer and transports them to a different place. So in that place of fatigue and push the edge, I did sit down and did something along the lines of, okay, show me what it is that I need to make, please. And I closed my eyes and something said to pick up my pen pencil in my other hand, the one that I don't normally draw and write with. Wow. With my eyes closed, I drew this thing out. And I could see it so clearly in my mind, like I could touch it. What the wood looked like, what the glass smelled, was like. I'm a glass and wood artist. So three-dimensional sculpture. And when I sat back and I saw this thing, I thought, oh, wow, okay, this is totally different than I've ever made. And the next question was, well, how the heck do I make it? It was like, okay. And then as an artist, I thought, well, I'll just figure it out. That's just, it's what you do when you're an artist. You have multiple tools all around you, and you just figure out what goes first, second, third. And so I made it, and that thing sold within a couple of months, and it was the most money I'd made on a piece of art to that day. But then after that, I did keep thinking, well, does it have to be that stressful? Do I have to be in such a state of stress and anxiety to get back to that state? Like, really?
Well, so yeah, that's like the rising from the ashes idea. Like, do I have to be get to the ashes in order to rise?
Yeah. So I questioned and I asked, and I think it was a couple of months later, you showed up in my life, and we did a lot of writing with our other hand, and then other things about the other hand came up. And now I've developed an entire course for people. It's an online course where they can get to that depths of their creative imagination. And it's healing and soothing for the central nervous system.
How cool is it, the synchronicities of that? Like, you drew this piece with your other hand. So you followed the intuition, the guidance that you received to do that. And then you and I meet a few months later, and we're doing those exercises. I didn't realize that. That's like such incredible confirmation. Synchronicities. Like, I always see those signs as like synchronicities.
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah. And then I think within about a year after that, I'm going to lift up these other books that are tattered or torn, that both of these are about using your other hand to open up the parts of the mind that have been suppressed because we've been so stuck in logic.
And what books are you referring to?
This is, and I'll send these to you. It's called The Power of the Other Hand, one of the books. And the other is called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain.
Oh, cool.
And literally as if you're drawing from the right side of the brain. And they're both full of exercises that stimulate the creative imagination and get your body ready to receive information, and so you can trust it coming in.
That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
And once a person has the experience, of receiving information from the creative imagination, which another word for creative imagination is intuition. So it's like, so it's not, I guess it's more like through the mental muscle of imagination. And it really is like our intuition picks it up. And I think Napoleon Hill also refers to this as a sixth sense. Bob Proctor used to say intuition is also a muscle and not a sense. And that we all have it and that we can all strengthen it. And so what I'm hearing you say is, like, you've developed through all your research and your own experiences, you've developed a process really for people to strengthen the mental muscle of imagination and also intuition.
Yeah. The intuition is the side effect, is one of the benefits, spin-off benefits from it.
That's huge. So let's talk a bit about imagination. So when we're referring to imagination, both Nadia and I have studied Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill and quite a few other books, to be honest, and programs. And when we refer to creative imagination, we're talking about like how Napoleon Hill talks about creative imagination. So it is very much the intuition, and I'll define it for everyone. So we've got creative imagination, and Napoleon Hill says, through the faculty of creative imagination, the finite mind of man has direct communication with infinite intelligence. So infinite intelligence being source, God, universe, the finite mind of man, meaning like in our physicalness, we connect to infinite intelligence through this faculty of creative imagination. It is the faculty through which hunches and inspirations are received. It is by this faculty that all basic or new ideas are handed over to man. It is through this faculty that through thought vibrations from the minds of others are received. It is through this faculty that one individual may tune in or communicate with the subconscious minds of others. And then the other kind of imagination, which is important for us to mention, is synthetic imagination. And this imagination is the one where we take old concepts, ideas, or plans, and we bring it into new combinations. So this faculty is like creating with the old something that's new, but from the old. So the analogy I love, or the picture in my mind that I always think of, is the chair. So the very first chair that was ever created came from synthetic imagination, creative imagination. And then after that, all adaptations of that first chair were forms of the person was using their synthetic imagination. So it went from a chair to a rocking chair, for example, or a chair on wheels, or a love seat, so they adapted what was already there. And he says that this faculty is what's used by the inventor, with the exception of the genius who draws upon the creative imagination when he cannot solve his problem through synthetic imagination. So we're going to hone in on the creative imagination, because that's the mental muscle that we want to develop. Although the synthetic imagination is quite important when we're achieving goals and going after things in our lives, because what we normally dream from is our current physical state, like what we've had or what we see other people having. And we kind of start from there. And that's not our fullest potential.
Mm-mm.
It lies within the creative imagination. So what do you get from that? Like, from what I was just saying, like when we think about our goals and we create a picture in our mind of what we want, can you see how that our imagination really does limit us?
Absolutely. Because unless you've trained yourself to explore your imagination with your eyes closed, cut off from any other external source, we will look out and pull things from the outside in. And on one hand, that can be helpful to achieve a goal. Oh, I see XYZ is doing it that way. Oh, if I tried that step, maybe that will help me get another client. And maybe that can, but it's limited because it's not coming from infinite intelligence.
Yeah, that's good. And it's more like adapting. Yeah, it's more adapting what we already see, right?
Yeah.
Which it is important. Like I think Napoleon Hill says even it's like one isn't better than the other. It's just that the one is limited.
They're tools. Pencil, pen, they're different tools. You can write with them both, but you get a different result from both. But if you don't even know that you have both, I flex my synthetic imagination when I'm in the physical process of building a sculpture. I call a friend, what tool do you use for XYZ? What kind of finish do you apply on this wood for this effect? But to come up with the sculpture, it comes from way in here. And it's just a different use of tools. They're both essential tools. It's like the logical and the intuitive sides, parts of the brain. It's like those physical mechanics within the soft, squishy part between our ears. If certain parts of the brain are on all the time, other parts have to go to sleep because this draws too much energy and this doesn't get enough. But if you can put enough energy into both sides, then you have more tools.
Yeah, that's good.
Just tools.
That's good. When you said when you're developing or creating the art or first coming up with the concept for the sculpture, that's coming from within.
Yeah.
And that's all through the your creative imagination. Like you are, and explain the process. Like, are you, Van Gogh, I just quoted this and I like Van Gogh, the dreams his picture, paints his picture.
Paints the stream.
Is this what happens for you as well? Like it's, you tap into an idea because it almost does feel like, for me personally, it feels like an idea drops into my mind, and and it's up to me if I give that idea energy. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it feels like I've got to give it my attention if I want it to grow.
Yes. It's like a plant in a garden. You have to water it and feed it or it won't grow, right? Yes. So I now know how to trust those ideas when they come in. I now know how to intentionally put myself into that state to get an idea and to get it out quickly. For example, this last one went from within a month. This was the fastest period of time, within a month of, wow, wouldn't that be cool? And that was in a wakeful state, seeing it like a vision, and then going into the screen of the mind or my mental workshop, my creative workshop, whatever you call that thing, which I've learned from multiple different modalities, to a design company calling me saying, we're looking for an artist in Hawaii that does XYZ, and we found you randomly on Instagram, to getting an email this morning for them asking I'm in the second round. The third round will be discussed at the end of the month to see if I'll be the person in the third, one of the artists that are chosen, right? But I see this thing so clearly. I know exactly what process it's going to take, exactly what power tool to use for exactly every step. I have never made anything like this before. Like, I can grab that picture right now and show it to you. I've never made one of those with my hands yet, but I know exactly how to make it. And I know what it will feel like when it's finished. And in the last 2 years, I've trained myself to get from panic attack mode to receive a download from infinite intelligence. That's one way to do it. Your nervous system is so broken open that something comes through. Or you train your nervous system over and over. And I'm talking about pure flesh and bone and blood. This is not woo-woo stuff at all. Yeah. This is getting your flesh to be calm and safe enough to understand that information now gets to come in.
Yeah, that's a very important word is calm. To be in that calm state so that you can receive it. And then, you've got to be open to it as well, don't you? Although, I mean, do you really? Because sometimes like that's the phoenix rising as well, because sometimes the circumstance cracks you open.
Yeah. And sometimes ideas come through that, and that's fine. That's one way.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be the only way. Do all of my best ideas only come from these exercises that I do? In this moment, yes. I think a potential client of mine asked me this a little while ago. She said, well, I want to have those ideas and get those ideas now. I don't want to go through a 12-week process. I'm like, great, that's fine. Close your eyes. Can you get it now? And she said, no. Like, well, then you might need to train yourself to put yourself in that state.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think like you've been doing your work for so long, you can compress the period of time from point A to point B because you've practiced it over and 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 over again. And now I can get from 0 to $15,000 sculpture in a few minutes. So
that's beautiful. Well, that talks so much about the fact that the imagination is a muscle, and through use, it can get stronger. So in the beginning, it is like for most of us, unless you're a creative like Nadia, like an artist, most likely your imagination's weak and emotion, and most likely your imagination's even being controlled by your paradigm. So that's your programming. The way that you're habitually showing up in life is the way that you're even using this intellectual muscle. So if it's weak because, and just simply because we're not using it, like, let's be honest, most of us are in a very logical world with, jobs and where we don't really have a whole lot of use for the imagination. So it becomes weak because of lack of use. And therefore we hear people say this all the time. Oh, I'm not creative. It's creative. It's not true. Right? All the time.
Yeah, you can. Let me show you.
Yeah. And the truth is we're all creatives. We're all creators. We're creators of our experience, our world.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you see that you're creating your physical experience right now, your world, then wouldn't it be important to understand the muscle that creates that, the imagination, and strengthen it? Everyone listening, think about what Nadia just explained that she's able to do. So in a matter of seconds, or minutes, she can close her eyes and receive an idea that's paying her tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And yeah, she's got to create it and make it. We get paid for our ideas. Imagine how that would benefit you in your line of work.
Yeah.
So for those that are listening, maybe you are a salesperson. Maybe when you tap into your imagination, you're able to get an idea to shorten the sales process, or a way to connect with prospects in order for you to sell more faster. Or maybe if you are an influencer online, you close your eyes like that and you receive a Instagram post idea and the photo, and you put it up and boom, there comes a contract. Like, this is the kind of thing we're talking about that literally happens. And when you follow this imagination, these like insights that you receive, really, it's like intuition. When you follow it, that's when, well, people will call you lucky, really, because they don't get it.
Yeah. Yes, these practices are not limited to an artistic result. We've already seen the results of these kinds of practices. And even here in the book, Coca-Cola, or the light bulb, or the Wright brothers, or, who am I not listing that we could list, right? Somebody that has Leonardo da Vinci. Yes, he was an artist, but that man was so prolific in the massive amount of everything that he produced. If he had been alive today, he'd be Elon Musk, right?
Yeah, that's so cool. And they all, like, every single thing you just mentioned started with an idea. In order for them to receive the idea, they had to be open to the idea, relaxed, and use their imagination muscle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Could we talk about the brain with this too? Because I hear so much about the law of vibration, the law of attraction, these natural laws that we talk about, intuition, imagination, and this thing between our ears again. Let me backtrack. If I want to have a physically healthy body, let's say 6 packs or really strong arm muscles, right? I've got to go to the gym and work out. But I also have to fuel my body. I have to eat well. I have to make sure that what I'm putting in my mouth is going to help this thing bulk up and grow. If what I'm putting in my mouth is harming my brain, if somebody has something that may be a little off balance, let me tell you from personal experience, if this thing up here is imbalanced because of what you're putting in your mouth or not putting in your mouth, imagination and intuition are very difficult to listen to, if not impossible.
Yeah.
So like the muscle of the brain, the organ of the brain, is absolutely imperative to take care of in conjunction with strengthening all of this. And the same parts of the brain that light up, that have to do with significant well-being, with the central nervous system feeling safe and relaxed and calm, that is the same part where creativity resides. It's the same physical regions within the brain. And if we as a culture, humanity, America, stay completely focused on only the results, only the timeline, the schedule, you have to do it this way, you have to get it done, this obsessive, compulsive push for a product to get to a certain place. And I know I'm not necessarily saying this the way I want it to, but you know, that logical, you could call it left brain, even though in reality there is no left brain, right brain, the stuff all is intermixed. But if a human, if a person, if you only stay in that logical push zone, your sense of significant well-being, central nervous system has ability to calm, soften, your creative influence turn on. Gets really sleepy. It will never die. It's always there. It is there in every human brain unless it's surgically removed. Every human has access to it. But if all we do is stay in the other, then this atrophies, and you've got to strengthen it. Yeah. You've got to take it to the gym and you've got to feed it.
And I would also say with feeding, it's like not only food, it's also what's around, like what else, impacts the brain, like frequencies of things like cell phones.
Oh yeah. Then there's all of that.
It's like, it's huge. And there's so much science behind, like how our brain is actually being impacted by the world that we live in, like the actual, everything that's coming in at us. I also, when you shared something, it came to mind about, the health of the brain. It's super important that we're mindful. I feel like there's certain rules for me, like since I've learned about what the cell phones do, like Eloise now puts her phone outside of her room, when she sleeps. Like there's a lot of things that we don't often think about, that impacts our well-being in that way, and can we become cloudy as a result.
But also what helps with that too is, even if there is let's call it a physiologically chemical imbalance within the organ, you know what fixes that too? Repetition and strong emotion, repetition and strong emotion, repetition and strong emotion. Right. Exactly what TIR has you do. That is nourishment also for the organ.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. When you said about how the one side of your brain, like if we don't use it because we're so in our logical mind, especially in society, and the other side becomes weak. The answer, like it's such a simple answer to work it out. You've heard me say, take your mind to the mind gym, like work it out, use exercises. And if you go to the gym for your physical body, a lot of people have coaches at the gym to show them what exercises are good for their body. And if you have a desire to strengthen your arm muscle, you wouldn't, run, because that's not going to strengthen anything. You'd actually do exercises for the arms. And so often I find, like in this work, that like it's so important to have a mentor who's walked the walk and is able to show you, in this case, exercises in order to strengthen this part. So the work that you're doing is really important, because it's almost like we've got an epidemic out there of like weak imaginations, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what happens when we have weak imaginations is that the person continues to get the same results over and over. And we can see this in the masses. People are settling, they're stopped. They don't have any idea of how things can get better in their life. And they're just literally They don't know that they have a creative faculty called the imagination, and they can create a new picture for themselves, strengthen the imagination, and change their life.
Mhm. Yeah. And if you hang out in that imagination, I think in here Bob calls it the workshop of the mind, screen
Yeah.
of the mind.
Yeah.
And if you can stay in that place and feel it and feel the emotions there, when you come up out of it, that absolutely sends a massive ripple effect around you out. Yeah, it's sad when I see, it breaks my heart when I look at public schools. No art, no music, no PE. What the heck does our society think is going to happen?
It's all just information.
These little brains, right?
Yeah.
So, and when the person is ready, we live in a culture where you can find it.
Yeah.
You can get any amount of information from anywhere through the internet. And it's a tool that you get for life. No, once you know how to strengthen your imagination, nobody can take that away from you.
Yeah, that's so good. And it just, it gets stronger and stronger.
Yes.
So you become more and more connected to really your truth. And that's what the creative imagination is doing. Like when you receive downloads or inspiration or nudges or hunches, like Napoleon Hill says, it's like you giving it to, source giving it to you, which is essentially
Yes.
like you. And there's nothing that's not possible for you in that state. Like anything that you want, you can have. I also was thinking, I think this might be what I was forgetting before, is this idea, and it has nothing to do with the brain, but this idea that like, when you receive inspiration, let's call it like, just intuition, and through the impulse of an idea, which an idea has energy. It's almost like it's its own thing. And it comes to you because I believe because you are the host of that idea to bring it into the physical form. So the idea is energy, thought energy, and it needs a human being to move it into the physical. Yeah. And so if you don't, because how many of us, like, let's be honest, everyone listening, how many of you have received ideas and you didn't act on it? And then a few months later, right? Then we see someone else launching the thing or writing the book on the thing. Like, this has happened to me. And it's like, what? That was my idea. The idea leaves you though, doesn't it? If you don't take action on it.
Yeah.
You had that experience?
Absolutely. Multiple times. That would be such a great idea. We should do this. We should do that. Oh, I'll do it later.
Yeah.
Too busy. I don't feel good. I don't have enough money. Ideas, right?
Yeah.
But that's, oh my gosh, that's such a, those thoughts kill it. They kill it.
Yep.
Before it gets started. And you've got it.
Yeah, go for it.
From what you've been repeating lately, it's like, you've got to jump on it right away. What is the phrase you use? The universe loves speed.
Yeah.
Speed. Yeah.
Yeah. And you go first. You get the idea because it chose you as the host, and then you jump and you act on it, even if you don't know how, no matter how crazy it sounds, you act on that idea. And if it doesn't, if you don't, it moves on, like it chooses someone else. And this was something that I had to really wrap my head around. Like, if the idea drops into my mind, and it does, like I explained earlier, it feels like it drops to me, like, and because of my purpose and my desires and my goal and my vision for my life and what I'm up to, what as a soul, why I came here on earth. And this is true for each one of the listeners, that because of that, the idea has come to me, and all I've got to do is nourish that idea. So through creativity, like through my imagination, like build the picture. Because in the beginning, it's like a baby idea. Like we've got a framework. Maybe you've got a framework for the art that you create, or a framework for a program, or like maybe it's just a title. And then we get to nourish it. And through that, we grow, we expand, get paid more money, all of those things. How often, though, do we just let the ideas slip us by?
Yeah. How often do I not even recognize that I'm getting an idea?
Yeah.
That something comes through my mind, my busyness and my stress and my XYZ. How often do I not even know it's coming to me and through me?
So the answer is slow down.
Slow down. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. There's much more slowing down gets to happen. And
Strengthen
skills and abilities to capture that when it lands, to recognize that there's a significance in it. How do I capture that information? How do I get it out of here and into a piece of paper? How do I get it out of me in a way that I can then move forward with it?
Yeah, that's so good. And just like, I think recognizing is important, like you said, capturing it, getting it on paper, writing, slowing down, not underestimating the idea, like even if it's a name,
Mm-hmm.
acting on that, like, whatever that looks like. And then you said something earlier about trust. So what has that looked like for you? Like for me, I don't trust every idea I get on, like, it really depends on where I am when I get the idea. So like how I feel when I get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I've learned for myself to recognize the difference between me like intellectually coming up with an idea to, and maybe this is synthetic imagination, like coming up with the solution of the problem that I'm trying to fix or control a situation, versus me being in a calm state or a positive state, a receiving state, in order to receive infinite intelligence, like an idea from infinite intelligence. There's a very different feeling in it.
Yes, very different feeling. It's taken me a while to practice putting myself into that state to know the difference between maybe downloading somebody else's idea out and about in public or whatever the thing is, or intentionally, purposefully sitting down with the intention to, all right, I'm ready for the next idea. I'd like to be the vessel for this. Source, God, goddess, infinite intelligence, whatever your version of that is, then being ready to receive it.
Good.
And being able to get it out of one's body in a way where you trust it.
And do you find that you're acting on all ideas? Like what's your, have you been able to close the gap on acting on the ideas that you receive? Or do you still sometimes like question the ones that you get?
When it comes to my art, I do not question. That's pretty rapid and quick. Like yesterday morning, I had an intuition to research something that I've been really passionate about based on a book you recommended that we read as part of the Success Society, the I'll say it, the Pussy book, right?
Yeah.
So reading that and listening to that, and then diving really deep into the archaeology and the prehistory and culture, prehistoric cultures of women, and then the art about them. Oh my gosh, Danielle, I'll just send you some pictures of some of the oldest sculptures on the planet that humans have done are about the female anatomy.
Of course.
And from there, then I just automatically saw an image for this next piece of art. This was in 24 hours and I'm already halfway done with it at my shop.
Oh my goodness, that is so cool.
So it's just, okay, I got it. I got that one. Boom, boom, boom. I saw it. I get to train myself how to make that faster and more concrete when it comes to business.
That's so cool. And I like that you've trained yourself to act on the ideas that you receive for your purpose, showing and creating art.
Yeah.
That's great.
And many years ago, I got a pretty direct hit of what my life's purpose is. And that is simply to remind others of who they are through art and creativity.
Wow, that's awesome.
And who you are is infinite intelligence.
And how cool is that now that so not only are you an artist where that makes sense, right? You create the art that to help people remember that truth about themselves. And now you've got the program for people to experience themselves as infinite intelligence.
Yes. Yes.
That's so cool. So tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll put all the details in the show notes for the listeners. Well, what can people expect to be on the other side of their time with you in the program?
Oh, to be on the other side. A faith and a concrete, unshakable belief in your imagination. That it is your fuel power pack. It's like in a video game, you get the power booster.
Yeah.
It's the level up power booster. What people can expect is they can expect to walk away with a set of tools to know how to create, cause, trigger a calm, relaxed mental state in order to receive information, and how to take that information you receive and turn it into something in the physical world. And I help my clients every step of the way.
So good. That's so good. I love it. I feel like there's like a new profession that you've got, like a name, something with imagination, like what you do, because it's way beyond the artist. This has evolved so much. And
yeah, this is not, there is such a huge difference. It's so funny when people say, oh, you're an artist, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, there's a big difference between art and creativity.
yeah,
Anybody can go to art school. I went to art school. I did not learn this in art school.
yeah, yeah.
You don't learn how to harness your imagination in art school.
Yeah.
Nor do you learn how to run a business. So, both of those things.
Well, we're not even taught really that we have an imagination. I think art school assumes that creatives are using their imagination and then like you've got it down, but
Yes.
they're thinking about it in a mechanical way, where this is not mechanical. This is creativity from spirit. This is completely different.
This is different. And for another one of the reasons why I felt really drawn, these are fun words, told to put this course together. It's a 12-week course that my clients go through the entire way with me. And it restored my faith in infinite intelligence, my faith in the divine God. Religion had been shattered, completely broken. And I knew that there was something inside of me that knew how to heal it. And the creative imagination, it's the same thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for the
conversations.
And for everyone listening, thank you for listening, like being, on the side, part of our conversation. We appreciate you. If it resonates, we'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
If you've got questions, reach out. We'll put all of Nadia's information in the notes so you can find her on social media. And we'll also include information about the course, the 12-week program. And I invite you to take a look and strengthen the imagination. Perhaps for you, it's what's been missing because you've just limited yourself, what you've allowed yourself to see for your future. And it opens a whole new world. Like it literally is magic. People will call you magical, lucky. It's not. It's you tapping into the wisest side of you, the part of you that knows it all, where there's nothing that's not possible. Very cool. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. I could talk about this all day with you.
Love it.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you so
everybody.
much, everybody.
That was episode 129 with Nadia. Thank you so much for joining. If you go to the show notes, you're going to find Nadia's profile, her website, and all the ways that you can find her. Please go and follow her. Tag myself and her as you share this episode. We'd be so honored if you would. And then reach out to us with questions. I'm going to encourage you to join us for reclamation starting very shortly. Nadia's journey over the past few years has been one of self-identity, self-image work. Nadia had to become in her mind the artist, the rock star, the woman who is at the top of her game. She had to see that in her mind, accept this as her own truth first. And then the results started showing up in her life. The same is true for you. Self-image is at the base of all success, how you perceive yourself. Come join us for reclamation. The link is in the show notes. We'll see you there. Thank you and expect abundance.